Good evening or good morning, whichever time you're watching this. If you end up watching this as a replay. So today we're talking about inspired action. And as usual, I have a couple notes here so that I make sure I stay on track and I value and respect people's time. And I want to give just a moment or so to allow people to join, as I know that there are a few people who really wanted to catch this. So, how to take inspired action. Just giving a little bit of time here for people to come in. Let me see here. Hi, John. How's it going? As you come in, type in the comments how your weekend was, what you do to take inspired action. If you have any questions on taking inspired action. So you know what? I'll go ahead and start. Hi, Billy. I'll go ahead and start as people are kind of hopping in. Inspired action. There there are different contexts when it comes to inspired action. I think that some people are considering when it comes to work as far as how to take inspired action, whether it's as an entrepreneur or as, hi Diego. Um, so getting into a flow or some sort of alignment, whether that is by meditating or by journaling, I notice that there's a difference between taking action and taking inspired action. Awesome. Nice. It's great to see you guys on here. Billy, if you can comment, what do you do to take inspired action so far that you've noticed that works? And what do you find that's not working for you? And same thing, John, if you're still in here, if you guys can type in there. So I noticed that there's a difference between just doing as opposed to getting grounded and sitting in stillness and then allowing the inspiration to come to me and then taking action. So even if, and that's not to get woo woo on people, but really I find that it's a lot more effective when we sit in stillness for a little bit, and it doesn't necessarily have to be meditating. Even if it's journaling, if you have a gratitude journal, or even if it's just sitting and praying, just some sort of time that you can sit for yourself. And you'll notice that when I sit in stillness, a day or so later, maybe even quicker than that, I'll get ideas just out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere. When you get those ideas out of nowhere, that is your inspired action. So you want to make sure that you take action immediately. Awesome. Hi, Adam. Hi, Joey. So thanks you guys for hopping in here because I know it's a Sunday evening. I was trying to take into consideration with it being Mother's Day. Now, when it comes to inspired action, aside from, for example, entrepreneurs, I know that some people who are watching this may be entrepreneurs and they were thinking in that context of, so that in that context, that is my suggestion or my recommendation, sitting in stillness and letting the ideas come out of nowhere. And I'm telling you, I know that sounds weird, but it really does come out of nowhere. One of the my journal workbook that I have called You're Worth It. I Am Worth It is the name of the workbook. That came out of inspired action. And I created the entire workbook completely just out of inspiration. Now, the other context that some people may think of when it comes to how to take inspired action can be when it comes to, say you have things that you need to do, a to-do list or a task list, and you just can't seem to get through it, and you notice that either you procrastinate, you put things off, you really don't feel like doing it. Here's the news. We are human beings. And if you remember when we were children and we had parents that would give us a curfew or would give us a timeout or would tell us, listen, you got to wash the dishes. You need to make your bed. You need to do this. And we didn't want to do it. we are still that little child. We're still that kid. But because we're human, nobody wants to do. Hey, Angela. Thanks for tuning in. So if you guys can, as you're hopping in, just typing in the comments what you do, if you do anything to take inspired action, what you have found that has worked, and if there's anything that hasn't worked. So what was I saying? Okay, so as far as when it comes to, hey Ron, when it comes to work, and if you have things that you really just don't feel like doing, I hate to put it this way, but like I tell my clients, I got to call a spade a spade. You just don't feel like doing it because we're human beings and sometimes we don't feel like doing stuff. And if you follow Mel Robbins, she talks about the 5-second rule, and that has nothing to do with food falling on the floor, by the way. She talks about how we have literally 5 seconds between the minute that we think about it and actually doing it. We lag there. If we think about it just too long, we'll convince ourselves not to do something. So for example, let's say that I need to really wash the dishes because my sink is packed with dishes, right? And I've been working and doing other things, and I know I need to wash the dishes. There's a moment in time, like a fraction moment in time, where I think about I need to wash the dishes. Now, when that thought occurs, according to Mel Robbins, you have about 5 seconds to go ahead and just do the dishes. Otherwise, what will happen is after the 5 seconds, I will come up with some other reason. Oh, you know what? I forgot that I really needed to take the trash out. And that's really because I'd much prefer to take the trash out than wash the dishes. So I say all that to say that hopefully that gives you some suggestion, first of all, as far as the 5-second rule, like being aware of it. I'm very aware of that, and I know now that if I still ignore it, that's really me just choosing to not do it. The other thing I want to say, in piggybacking on tasks that we really don't feel like doing, I notice that when I make a long to-do list, say that I'm really, I'm kicking butt, I'm, like really crossing things out, I'm accomplishing stuff, but I notice that there will be certain things on my long list that for some reason I put off. Like I will do certain things before I might do other things. Now this is different from the 5-second rule. And I'm going to recap all of this at the end in case any of this comes off confusing. If for some reason I notice that there are a couple things that I just have a hard time, I'll just keep putting off, it's because there's probably some sort of underlying fear or underlying reasons. So for example, recently, actually, a couple weeks ago, I had a long to-do list, and it included personal and business. It included going to the grocery store, meal prepping, things like that, and laundry, stuff like that. It also included me putting up posters of my free guided meditation, my free beach, if you're watching this, you probably know I do that free guided beach meditation the second Saturday of every month. And for a while, and I do the second Saturday of every month. So I had been meaning to put this poster up. I put them, I try to put them at a couple of the juice places that are in the city, as well as Starbucks. And I had been putting it off. I eventually did the laundry. I eventually did the groceries. I eventually did the meal prepping, but I kept putting off the flyers. And it's funny because I'm very self-aware. And so when these things happen, I'm very quick to stop and say, what's going on here, Dani? Why do we keep putting off putting up of the flyers? And when I really thought about it and broke it down, it's because if I were to put up the flyers, that means that people are going to see that I'm doing a guided beach meditation. And that means that people might show up, which that means I need to show up. And it goes into, if we keep digging, about the fear of what are people going to think? How many people are going to show? What if nobody shows up? And these things are all normal. Obviously, I've worked through it because I got the flyers up. Actually, you know what? Let me share this with you guys. So I kept procrastinating, right, with the flyers, that eventually I delegated the task. When I noticed that I am just hemming and hawing and really dragging my feet, and just cannot seem to get the task done because the fear of whatever it is that's just underlying, I will end up calling someone or just reaching out to my support system or my like a community, different communities I'm involved in, and say, hey, I need support. This is what's going on. Can somebody put some posters up for me? And I will just end up, giving somebody like 20 bucks, 30 bucks or whatever, and having them put up the posters for me because I kept dragging my feet on it. So let me recap if in case you just joined in or everything sounds like it's all over the place. So how to take inspired action. When it comes to what I'm talking about here, I kind of divided it into two different sort of contexts. So inspired action can be in the context of I'm an entrepreneur, I'm stuck, I get stuck in the how, I don't really know what to do. When it comes to that, I recommend sitting in a place of stillness, whether it's writing in a gratitude journal or just journaling, free form, or meditating, getting in a place of stillness, allowing yourself to be open to receive, and the ideas will, I promise you, they come out of nowhere. Just if you reflect on past things that you've done and thought about, how did I come up with that? Has anybody ever asked you that? Like, hey, how'd you come up with that? And you're like, I don't really know. That's inspired action. So in that context, I suggest sitting in stillness. If you're watching this and you were the person that, because I had a couple different people actually ask about this, me doing this Facebook Live. So in that context of inspired action, of sitting in stillness, meditating, the idea will come to you out of nowhere. When those ideas come, though, you need to take action, because sometimes those ideas come and then people don't take action. So in that context, that's for that. The other thing that I also divided it into was in the context of people talking about, Dani, I have a long to-do list, and for some reason, sometimes I really don't feel like doing it. Yeah, because we're human beings and sometimes we don't feel like doing stuff. So, I didn't mention earlier is something you could also do too is giving yourself a reward, but you need to do it beforehand. Like, you don't want to already do the thing and then say, you know what, because I did this. I mean, you could do that, but to make it even more effective, it's almost like parenting yourself of saying, okay, if we get this done, then we get to, I don't know, go to the beach, or then we get to go watch a movie or whatever it may be. So having a reward also helps. And then the other thing I was suggesting, if you find yourself having a long to-do list, about being aware of the mind frame and the timeline of when the idea comes in your head to do it, act quickly. Like, oh man, I really gotta do the dishes. Don't, Dani, let's just go do the dishes. Because if I give myself too long, I'll talk myself out of it. And then the last thing we talked about in that same context of not feeling like doing certain things, there could be an underlying reason for that. It could be fear of failure, fear of success. It could be a deeper underlying issue if you're finding yourself not doing something. By the way, if that is the case, if any of these resonates with you and you want to explore it further, feel free to send me a message. I love doing an initial session as just a complimentary thing to get people kind of in that mind frame and in that flow. So yeah, I hope that supports you guys on how to take inspired action. I really appreciate you hopping in here on a Sunday evening with me and sharing space. Oh, let me read through these comments. We've got some here. I think about the alternative. For example, if I don't do the laundry, I won't have clothes for work. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for putting that, Angela. I really appreciate that. That is another thing too. So if you think about the consequences of, well, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to have this. So, well, I really don't feel like going grocery shopping. I really don't feel like meal prepping. Well, Dani, let's be prepared for the consequences, because if we don't do that, we're going to find ourselves scrambling all week for meals. Thank you, Angela, for putting that. And now I'm saying Angela, and I'm like, well, her username says Jacinta. I don't know if I should be calling you that or Angela. Billy says, fear of stepping out of the comfort zone. Personally, I've been agreeing to things that I wouldn't normally do, and it has helped start toward inspired action. Yes, Billy, exactly. Hey, Brooke, thanks for joining. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Leda. Thank you guys for hopping in. Billy, I love that. Fear of stepping out of the comfort zone. And yes, absolutely. So I said in my Facebook Live yesterday how I feel like, what did I say it in the Facebook? I can't remember if I said it in the Facebook Live or if I said it to a friend. I have so many different conversations, but a lot of times I feel like you grow more from doing things that are uncomfortable as opposed to working hard. I feel like, yes, working hard, you need to work hard, right, to gain the skills and the knowledge. But I also find that successful people became successful because they stepped out of their comfort zone and they did things that were really uncomfortable. So awesome. Yes, this is great. I really appreciate you guys commenting. I love the feedback. I love the interaction. I don't ever want to just come on here and just straight talk for all this time. So I love it when you guys interact. Great. So I hope this was supportive. If you're watching this and you're catching it as a replay, please feel free, because I do read the comments after the video, to type in the Facebook Live, to type in the comments there if you had any epiphanies from this, any takeaways, anything that you got from it. And if it kind of sparked some little fireworks there and you want to explore it more, feel free to contact me. I would love to have a conversation with you guys. And have a beautiful night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you tomorrow for the next Facebook Live. Mwah!